Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Build Value by Choice. I'm your host, Nane, President and CEO of Infinite Horizons Incorporated. Infinite Horizons Incorporated is a business advisory and coaching firm that helps business owners get more value out of their company. We do it through a series of avenues, workshops, digital courses, and coaching. This week's episode of Build Value by Choice is brought to you by Infinite Horizons, and we are going to be discussing financing. And just by way of the reason why this topic is so timely, there's a lot of concern around access to capital from a lot of small business owners, particularly in the minority community. Whenever we ask them, hey, what are some of the challenges that you're facing? What's holding you back? One of the main things that tend to come up is lack of access to capital. And for minority business owners, it also tends to be the lack of connections and networks that enable them to have access to capital. So I've been able to find somebody who can help with that situation. And his name is Mark Ritter. Mark Ritter is the CEO of New Direction Lending and Member Services Financial Services Organization. That is a business lending QSO. And what is QSO? QSO just stands for Credit Union Service Organization. And the term QSO means that the business entity is qualified for and has a credit union investment. A little bit of background about Mark. Mark is, he started the first federal credit union's business lending program known as the One Person and the Desk, with no policies, products, staffing, systems, or business members, and grew that program to be one of the top 10 in the nation in the number of loans, balances outstanding, and loans participations for federal credit unions. He's a native of Berwick, Pennsylvania in the Northeast region, and he attended Penn State as an undergrad. A big fan of Penn State. I'm a Northwestern grad, so Big Ten kind of connection there. And by way of disclosure, I also worked at a credit union for a while, so I kind of have a feel for how credit union works. Welcome to the show, Mark.
Oh, thank you for having me. And I know typically Penn State has the better football team, but I know Northwestern has better SAT scores. So I'm looking forward to the conversation.
that was our trash talk, back in the day where they were like, hey, yeah, you guys. I was like, well, you don't worry, you'll be working for us someday. Anyway, but that's what we did to make us feel better. But anyway, that's not the way it always turned out. So Mark, again, glad to have you on the show. Clearly, you're doing the law's work. How do we? What is the story of credit union and business finance, and what do small business owners need to know about credit union options for access to capital, among other things?
Sure. I really think credit unions are the best kept secret for small business owners. Mm-hmm. And part of that is the history of credit unions. Over the last 50 years, credit unions really became much more consumer focused organizations. 125 million Americans belong to credit unions, but very few of them considered the business that credit union for their business needs. Mm-hmm. And really, especially over the past 10 to 15 years, the amount of credit unions offering business loans and the amount of small business loans through the credit unions has just exploded. But where else better to get your small business loan than where you have a nice relationship? So we really try to get out to shows like this and put the word out for people to connect with credit unions.
What is the eligibility criteria? Because sometimes that trips people up too, right? So for instance, I used to be part of a credit union that catered to the military, but they losing the criteria over time, and you can be a family member or whatnot. Do you have a specific credit union? And maybe you can also kind of explain the consortium, because you have the QSO, and just because people just need to be educated a little bit about just how this sort of thing works, and if if I'm not in the military, can I go to a military credit union? How do I, what do I need to know to apply for membership in MBFS, for instance?
Exactly. And I'll kind of explain who MBFS is and also the credit union side. MBFS is a company that is founded and owned by credit unions. And we have one goal, and that's to help members and credit unions make small business loans. So, and the easy way to think of it, instead of every credit union going and hiring all of their own people and buying systems and building the infrastructure to do small business loans, what the credit unions have done is really kind of work cooperatively so they can offer these loans more effectively and efficiently. Now, growing up in the coal region, my father belonged to a credit union of his factory that he worked at. And, back in those days, if you were either the military's credit union, you were the teachers' credit union, you were the government workers' credit union, and everybody had their own credit union. Those days have really gone by the wayside. And if most listeners, when they drive past a credit union, if you pull in there and walk in the door, most credit unions today have a much broader eligibility for working with you. Some credit unions are community chartered, where they serve a specific geographic region. Many credit unions are still association or employment group based. And even those groups today have broad ranges and different ways to join. So what I tell people is, if you're driving past a credit union in your region, you could pull in and there's probably about a 95 to 98% chance that you can open up an account there and talk with them about how you can use their services.
And so so you are like a centralized location or integration point for various credit unions. So are they just focused on the personal lending side of things, whereas you guys are focused on the business lending side of things? Or where do the boundaries get drawn?
Yeah, credit unions are typically about 90% consumer focused organizations and maybe about 10% small business. So it's either works one of two ways. If you talk to the credit union and ask about a small business loan, many times they'll simply refer you to us, or you could work with one of their representatives and we're pulling and doing all the mechanical things on the back end to support them. I'm in suburban Philadelphia, but we have staff and credit unions all throughout the country where we can help you get that loan you need.
And currently, what's your membership number? Or is that something you can talk about?
Yeah, we work with about 80 credit unions altogether, a little over 80 credit unions, and we service about 2.2 billion in commercial loans and small business loans for various credit unions. So, and that's a pretty broad base. And we this year we thought things were going to slow down a little bit, and it's as busier than we've ever been, funding about 60 million a month among all the various credit unions.
Are there any particular industries that you work with?
It's real because credit unions it's not a homogenous business. We've worked with the smallest of the small, helping people start out with maybe an SBA loan or kind of that first loan or property that you've purchased if you're into real estate, all the way up to seven-figure loans with multi-million-dollar transactions. So the nice thing about the credit unions, because they scale together, they're really focused on getting people the capital that they need and in their community, and that can have a broad range of meanings. We work with different retailers, service providers. I like to call credit unions Main Street America lending. When they ask who we like to work with and what we like to do, drive up and down your downtowns and drive through your business parks and look around. And we really like to focus on those locally owned small businesses. And we try to avoid just having the blacklist of industries to say we don't do that. We're really here. It's a cooperative for the members who have businesses.
Yeah, and that is why I like the credit union mission. As a matter of fact, before I worked at the credit union, I hadn't worked at a nonprofit before, and the fact that you're working, you're helping drive the innovation engine of the country, helping communities. Just by way of what you just said, the small business that are either starting out or even in process but are looking to grow. Is there like I know you start from somebody who's just starting out to what is your highest revenue range, or is there no limit to the revenue range?
Yeah, once somebody gets into what I'll call that middle market type of category, where you have a significantly complex business, or maybe you have a stock that's traded, sometimes I get a little bit nervous about that in the credit union space. But we don't see that too often. We see businesses this year that have 150,000 in revenue, where maybe it's a part-time job, and we've seen businesses that have 25 million in annual revenue.
Okay, and can you describe the process, the logistics in the process, or the journey that a typical business owner coming to you goes through?
Sure. And we really, one of the pieces that I've been concerned about over the last few years are small businesses getting frustrated with the process, and they go to these online lenders where you get very fast, quick decisions, and you get your money in a couple hours or 1 or 2 days. And you're getting the money you need, but it's almost like a payday loan where you're paying 30% plus interest rate. So we really have kind of two-tiered path. We formed a division called New Direction Lending, where people can get those very fast, quick business loans, but you're getting them funded by the credit union at good quality credit union rates. And then we have what I'll call the more traditional process, where maybe you have a little more time and you provide your financials to one of our lenders and one of the credit union lenders, and we talk through the process. That's very much more of a traditional pattern of getting me your financials, getting me your personal statements, and we work with you, and typically can get you an answer maybe in 7 to 10 days, and we work towards a closing. But if somebody has, they're looking for money in a week, we've actually set up a fintech-like division like that. But the big difference is it's funded with the credit unions at fair and transparent rates versus these predatory rates of some of these online businesses, because we really see those become a death spiral for businesses if you get into some terms that aren't fair for you.
Yeah. And because the failure rate for small businesses, is quite high. Now, what are some of the typical reasons why you would reject a business loan applicant?
Yeah. So what I always like to tell people is don't get frustrated, and sometimes shop for lenders like you would a restaurant. You can go to a restaurant and you could stop by a convenience store and get some real quick expensive food that's not too good for you, or you can go to a really good chef and spend a few hours, and think of lenders like that. I always say there's a lender for everybody where you're at in the life cycle. And that's one of the things that we like to do is if you go up to a credit union or a bank or an online lender and get rejected, sometimes people get frustrated and they just go for something real quick and fast. But the reality is not every lender is suited for every small business. It's just not their business model. But we typically will see if somebody has a lot of challenges in their personal credit, especially when you're starting out those few years, that can make it significantly tougher if you have a lot of liens and judgments. And then what we really want to do, and let's face it, we're in the lending business. We want to give people a loan and get the money back so we can re-lend it. So we want to show in good faith that you can get that money back to us. And if we can't do that, what I would suggest to people is take that as an opportunity to have a conversation, and the credit union can show you what, in our view, maybe where your business is at and where you need to go. But depending on the life cycle of your business, maybe you're just shopping at the wrong place. Maybe you need to work with a small business development center who can get you a micro loan, or maybe you need an SBA loan and your particular lender doesn't need that. So it's important to shop at the right place and work and talk to people who lend in the stage that your business is at. There's credit unions and banks out there that just do large real estate deals. If you're a small business owner needing a line of credit to expand your business, that's probably not the best choice for you. So you really have to interview that lender and talk with them about what they do and how they work to make it work. And that's why I really enjoy our business, because we can talk to a business owner, and instead of somebody shopping, going around the marketplace shopping with 10 different credit unions, we can help align them with where it makes the best fit.
Yeah, and I guess one of the good things about the fact that you have tentacles to a lot of different organizations, if they come to you as sort of visiting all these different credit unions, you can point them in the right direction. Now, I think maybe if you can explain again, when does somebody go to you, and when does somebody go to SBA, and when does somebody goes to SBDC? If you could repeat that, because if it's a micro loan, SBDC, and when do they go to SBA for a loan versus coming to you?
Yeah, I would say if you decided on a weekend you want to start a business and you need financing to get things started, and you've lost your job or quit your job and you want to start a new business, that's where either maybe you're going down the SBA path for a startup business, or what we really want to see is make sure people have the education to start their business, not just the financing. Mm-hmm. And most businesses don't fail because people aren't good at what they do. They fail because they don't have the capital, or they don't have some of that education to get them through the difficulties. So if you're in that startup phase, you're working out, maybe you have really limited capital or resources to start your business, that's where we say, okay, focus on maybe that small business development center. And the SBA has a great resource of those, and they're in virtually every place in the country, who can not just give you some startup financing, but also to get you educated, to put you in the best place for success. Now, where the credit union can come in is credit unions are very favorable for small businesses for things like your checking accounts, your debit cards, the transactions that you need. And then maybe when you reach that next phase where you need some more capital, well, you have a nice relationship with your local credit union that sees your business and will want to help you.
And do you offer the education, or do you partner with other organizations to deliver the education needed for business owners to succeed?
We really try to partner with best in breed and bringing education to people. And some of that involves, sometimes when you're the lender, I sometimes tell my kids who still don't understand what I do for a living. So we give you the financing you need, and if you don't take it, we take all your stuff back. So we want to help and lead and put you in the best chance of success. But that's really what a lender is focused on. We want to partner with people who can educate you, that are going to give you that neutral viewpoint of what's best for your business, as opposed to maybe from what the viewpoint is of your lender, from just giving you money. You know, many times, what my advice for everybody listening to this show is, don't borrow money. And if you can keep your small business debt free, do that. At some point, going to need additional capital and financing to grow your business. But the more you can be debt free for your small business, I think it puts you in a much better chance of success. And this is coming from somebody who lends money for a living.
And that's what I appreciate, the candid and honesty, because then, you know, the business owner knows that you actually have their best interest in mind, not trying to, you know, pitch them your lending products. But only, you know, you only pitch to, you know, people that actually need those products. So like in the current inflationary environment, you know, everything is tight. How is the relationship that credit unions have with businesses, you know, changing over time?
Sure. When costs are getting higher, really what we're seeing now is a much greater need for small businesses to have, and making sure that they have access to lines of credit that they need. Because maybe that inventory that you needed to purchase is significantly more. So paying for that, all of that in cash, can hurt your cash flow of the business and stop you from doing some other things. So we're seeing a little bit greater need for those working capital type of situations, where you can draw off of the line, and then when you turn that product or service into cash flow, repay the line of credit. And proper use of keeping up with that line of credit can be really a good way to grow your business. But as you know, things cost a lot more, and it costs a lot more for the businesses. So it's really important that you have access and be able to grow your business appropriately. And that's a good use in today's inflationary environment.
Now, obviously, you know, somebody starting out, you know, it needs a different type of educational advice than somebody who's been in business a while. Maybe they're even making like $1 million in sales a year. And they're just looking to scale. They've been growing, but they're looking to scale their business. What kind of partnerships do you engage in to help those different kind of tiers of business owners?
Sure. You know, really, after somebody starts up and they've now they want to grow and scale their business, what we want to do is make sure that you have those working capital and expansion loans that you need to succeed. As you know, it's very easy to grow your way out of business. Because sometimes the more you grow, the more working capital you need, more problems, more employees, issues, more. So it's very easy to grow your way out of business. And we want to make sure that when we provide the financing to you, we want to talk through not just your ability to make a product, deliver a service, but for your ability to manage this business and grow it. Because what we're looking at is how you can pay us in the future. And the worst thing that we can do is give people not enough financing. Because if you have a fast growing business and you have to buy inventory, if you don't have enough financing, you could get stuck without the ability to finish your store or get the people that you need. And really, then people stop using you because your product and service suffers. So giving people too much money is tough. We don't want to put you in too much debt, but oftentimes too little financing is worse, in my opinion, because it can really devastate your business. So that's, and we want to help you understand that middle ground. What if a credit union or anybody gives you a car loan, the old saying is you're a customer. If you owe them $1 million, you're a partner. We want to see you succeed. So as your business grows, we want to see that we're communicating and working together to ensure your success.
So I'm gonna maybe put you in the spot. I
Sure.
kind of want to. Would you say that there isn't an access to capital problem, but it's just a lack of knowledge about where to go find the capital? That's the issue?
I think that's a big issue. And it's part of the reason I'm here and enjoy these conversations. All the time on the news, they'll see, you'll see advertised, come get a car loan, come get a mortgage, come to us. But sometimes business lending can be a very intimidating process for people because it's a lot of effort. It's a lot of work to talk to somebody. And maybe a business lender doesn't want to talk to you because you only need $100,000 and they're not interested in that process. It's not worth their time. So as you said, if you have connections, if you know who to talk to, it can be very open. But unfortunately, for the people who don't know how to navigate that system sometimes get left behind, which is, one of the reasons I like credit unions is because we'll work with the entire scale of businesses. We work with some very successful, rich, established businesses, but we also are strong advocates of the small business lending, of SBA loans that can get people access to capital. Getting them to choose the credit union in the conversation is sometimes the tough part because they don't think about it. So yeah, I fully agree that there's a big there's an issue with not the access to capital is there. The education of connecting the businesses to the right people is where our whole industry needs to get better at.
What are some of the resources, websites, journals, magazines, conferences that listeners can go to learn more?
Sure. And I'm going to give you the best free resource in the country is SBA.gov.
Okay.
It is the SBA was a very stodgy organization for years. Now the resources that they have on there for helping people connect with the process and where to go and some of the generalities and what you need are as good as anything else in the country. They're not going to manage your business, but they're going to help. So really that's where, people like you come in to help people manage the business and grow the business and but as far as the basics of getting into where you need to go and what's available, the SBA the SBA.gov is the best in the country for businesses.
Wonderful. And if people want to get in contact with you or your organization, what's the best way for them to do that?
Sure. The easiest way is markritter.com. And I'm also very active on LinkedIn. And what we like to do for people is we deal with a lot of credit unions, but it's not in every single town in the country. So if we don't have coverage in your area, we try to connect you with a credit union locally that is in the small business marketplace who can help you out.
Wonderful. Any final takeaways or advice you want our listeners to take away from this conversation?
Sure. Don't be frustrated. Be organized and realize that your lender is working to have a successful loan relationship. So it's a conversation and it's a two-way street. So it's a good process at the end.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Mark, for joining us today. Really appreciate the insights you share with us. For our listeners, you can follow the conversation on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Build Value by Choice, or you can go on the show's website, www.infhorizons.com/podcast. We're going to have all of Mark's information, the information that we discussed today. We're going to have the links to that in the show's notes, so you can get that information from there as well. Thanks again, Mark.